Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is a companion video. Now, what are companion videos? Well, I'm awfully glad that you asked. See, every day on the John Campea Show, we save the second half of the show to take live questions from the audience. However, we often don't have time to get around to all the live questions that get sent in, but I want to make sure those questions get answered properly in a video, so I gather them up and we address them here on companion videos. So let's not waste any time and dive right into it. We're going to get things started off here with an anonymous viewer who wrote in, "Hey, John, my movie recommendation is the 2010 Denis Villeneuve film Incendies. It's a French language film shot mostly in Canada. I have to say this might be my favorite of his films." That's high praise because obviously he's got a lot of great films. "I believe one day he will be considered an all-time great director." All right, thanks for saying that. And yeah, Denis still got a little ways to go. And of course, he's got that new Dune movie coming out, fingers crossed, at the end of this year, as long as everything goes according to plan. And you know, nothing's according to plan right now, but if they do. Now, my personal favorite of his is still Prisoners. A lot of people like Arrival. His Blade Runner 2049 was fantastic. Let's put it this way. If he continues at this pace, this incredibly high-level pace, for the next 10, 12, 15 years, yeah, he is in the running to be considered one of the all-time greats. Now, he's still young. He still has a lot of movies to make. Let's give him a little thing. Now, as far as this movie goes, I have never seen it. I'm familiar with it, though. It's the one where the girl travels to the Middle East, like to trace family history and all that kind of stuff. But I haven't watched it yet myself. Now, it is a 2010 film, so it's not all that old, but I've always thought I got to get around to watching that one at some point. He's also got one or two other older ones. Like, I remember he did this one back in 2000 that I'm trying to remember the name of it now. It starts with an M. Anyway, that a bunch of people have been telling me I should check out as well. So I do want to at some point get back into his archives and get caught up on those. All right, thanks for sharing that, Anonymous. All right. Kirt writes, one of two. "Greetings, John. I was initially pumped for how Disney planned to set up canon in the Star Wars universe. However, it seems that structure is crumbling with more and more retcons and contradictions between the various mediums. In regards to Star Wars universe, I think they should put the movies and television into its own universe that's inspired by and inspires the rest of content mediums. Disney should still manage it all. What are your thoughts on handling canon?" No, listen, I was as excited as anybody else, Kurt, when they announced that they'd taken over and they were redefining canon. Because, you know, back in the older Star Wars days, there were like 18 different levels of canon that all had like a letter associated with it. And only one canon was true canon. That was called G canon because the G stood for George. And that was only a limited number of things and blah, blah, blah. So a lot of people got confused all the time about what was canon, what wasn't canon. So Disney comes along and they say, for now on, everything is canon. It's absolutely consistent with the universe of Star Wars. Every comic book you read, every novel you read, every audiobook you listen to, every television show you see, and every movie you watch in the Star Wars universe is all in one and the same consistent Star Wars universe. Now, I loved it, but even at the time, I was like, that's a tall order. I don't know if you can actually pull that off. And over the years, you start to see the cracks. Certain things would happen in novels that will contradict that would happen here and here, and it all became a mess. I am actually at the point where I kind of agree. I think they should just throw it all out and say, look, TV shows and movies are canon. The rest are legendary stories in the Star Wars universe that may or may not be canon. I mean, you just might as well because they've already, because look, being canon is kind of like being pregnant. You're not sort of pregnant. You're either pregnant or you're not. Something is either canon or it's not. Don't give me this, oh yeah, that book's canon, you know, except for that part, that part, that part, and that part. The parts that aren't consistent with the movies, those parts aren't canon. It's like, no, it's not partially canon. Things are either canon or they're not. So I'm kind of with you on this, Kurt, that at this point, they might as well just throw it all out and say, look, we tried. From now on, comic books, novels, stuff like that aren't canon. They're just great stories in the Star Wars universe, and the only true canon is movies and TV. They might as well just do that at this point. Unless they want to try to redouble their efforts and say, okay, from now on, everything is canon. But that gets really, really tricky. It is a tall undertaking. I don't want to sell it short and make it sound like it's just an easy thing to do. It's not. It's very tough. But I just don't think it's working. Anyway, Eric Grathwall writes, Hey, John, can I get a birthday shout out? Happy birthday, Eric. I hope you have a great day and a triumphant year ahead of you. And we're glad you decided to spend your birthday with us on the show. So again, man, happy birthday to you. I hope you have a great one, man. All right. Next up, Joshua Stevens writes, guilty pleasure of mine is The One with Jason Statham and Jet Li. The One, it was either The One or it was the Sylvester Stallone race car movie. But it was one of those two. Back when I used to work with a visual effects company, it was either The One, and again, I can't remember the name. There was a race car movie with Sylvester Stallone, and it was one of those two. I'll say it was The One. Was the first feature film that our company worked on. We were this little visual effects company in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada, and I think the first actual motion picture our company worked on was, it might have been The One. I think The One was the first one. It was either the first one or the second one. It's not a great little movie, but you get to see Jason Statham and Jet Li. I mean, why not? Go for it. I mean, you know what? The one thing too is while Jason Statham has been in a lot of action films, not a lot of them have really showed off his on-camera martial arts skills. Not a lot of them have done it. I mean, he's often the big, rugged badass and has some good fight stuff, but never really full blown. And I'd love to see him and a Jet Li type go at it again in another movie. Anyway, a nice list for your guilty pleasure, man. All right, Joshua also writes, I just realized Stephen Lang, Slang, as he likes to be called, was Ike Clanton, in Tombstone. Wow, my favorite movie of all time, by the way. Super deep, talented cast. Oh, dude, no doubt. It's crazy. When you go back and look up the IMDb page for Tombstone, it's just a big name, big name, big name, big name, big name. I mean, it's a really deep, impressive cast. I mean, even people that are more obscure that I think are fantastic, like Michael Biehn is in there and stuff like that. Of course, him and Val Kilmer played off each other so well. Anyway, yeah, Stephen Lang, the guy a lot of people picked for many years to be Cable. A lot of people thought he should have been Cable. Josh Brolin worked out to be fantastic. But yeah, there you go. Slang is in Tombstone. Casinema Reviews writes, Joshua, it took me forever to recognize him too. So Casinema, a little bit of a internal dialogue going on there within the chat board between Casinema Reviews and Joshua talking about Stephen Lang in Tombstone. All right, Alex Powers 2.0 writes, hey, John. Why do you think Disney still has not released the unaltered versions of the original Star Wars trilogy? Think George Lucas is still blocking it? Oh, it's not that he's still blocking it. It's that, look, when George Lucas sold Star Wars to Disney, what I understand is that he had put into that contract that the original versions of Star Wars no longer exist. Because, to George Lucas, and remember, these are his movies. They're his creations. To George Lucas, the updated special editions of the original trilogy are the true versions of Star Wars. And therefore, to him, the older versions were incomplete tests. Incomplete what's the word? Prototypes. That's the word I'm looking for. They're incomplete prototypes. And my understanding is when he sold that to Disney, it was with the explicit understanding those things don't see the light of day in. Because Disney loves money. And Disney, had they been able to, they just would have put out now for the first time in 30 years, see the original edition of the original Star Wars films, and they'd sell out like crazy, and everybody would celebrate. But to George Lucas, the creator of them, and he's totally within his rights to do this, those aren't the true versions of the movies to him, therefore it's that. And it's morbid to say, so forgive me, but if we're just going to talk in logistics here, it's going to stay that way until George passes away and whoever his main heir is, his children and those who inherit his estate, maybe then they say, we'll sign off on letting the original versions get released. But until that happens, I don't think George is ever going to let it happen. So it's not that he's blocking, it's that he blocked it when he sold it. And he would have to allow Disney to do that at this point. So yes, it is 100% a George Lucas thing, because Disney is all about making money, and releasing the original trilogy in its original form would make a lot of money right now. I mean, no doubt it absolutely would. All right. Chris West sends in a $2 super chat just to be supportive. Thank you so much, Chris West. And an anonymous viewer, just Haywood, writes, do you think the planned Rick Grimes movie will ever happen? Greetings from Victoria. Well, greetings in Victoria, British Columbia. Thanks for writing in, man. Now, of course, the Rick Grimes character on Walking Dead, if that's what it is we're talking about here, of course, the character flew away and they thought he was dead or whatever have you. Anyway, there was talk about them doing a standalone movie about what happens after he leaves the show, right? Now, there's two different questions here. One is, will it ever happen? And two is, what form will it happen in? I'm really unclear as to what form it's going to be in, because I've heard, now granted, I don't follow Walking Dead and all Walking Dead news really closely, so I'm not really clear on this. I heard that it was originally planned to be a theatrical film. Then I heard it was actually going to be a for TV movie that kind of follows up on what happens after that. Now, as far as, so I'm not sure what form it'll take. Whether or not it's actually going to happen, yeah, I believe that was the plan. And I think probably things are on hiatus right now because of the lockdown. But I believe it's going to happen. Actually, let's go look up for a second just to make sure here. Andrew Lincoln, who is the guy from it. Let's just bring up his page here. Hold on a second. Okay, so we've got Andrew Lincoln's page here. So let's scooch down and see if they still have it. Yeah, right at the top of his list. Apparently, he's got some kind of movie called Penguin Bloom coming out. I've never heard of that. I have no idea what that is. Maybe I do, and I'm just not remembering it. But right up here at the top, you can see them say Untitled Walking Dead movie. Untitled Walking Dead movie. So I can only assume that, yeah, this thing is still happening. It's still moving forward. They're still going to do it. Again, though, the question that it brings up is, what form will it be? And that much I don't know. But as to whether or not it's actually going to happen, I have no reason to believe it's not, and I haven't heard anything that says they won't, so just wherever it ends up is probably where it's going to end up. All right, thanks a lot for writing that in, man. Okay, next question comes to us from a friend 72 who writes, let me bring it up. Hey, John and crew, first time writing in, a long time watcher. Thanks for writing in, man. My movie recommendation is About Time. When I watch it, it makes me feel thankful to be thankful for the little things. Have you seen this movie? If so, what do you think of it? About Time. Yeah, that is the movie with Donald Gleason and Rachel McAdams. It's a time travel kind of movie, but it's a different kind of time travel movie, right? It's more of a romantic, deeper kind of thing. And I'll tell you what, it's a very charming film. It's a very charming film. Now, of course, you've got, you know, Rachel McAdams, who's a good Canadian girl in there, and Donald Gleason, who is, of course, Hux from, you know, the new Star Wars films. He's General Hux. But a lot of people still forget that he is actually one of my favorite character actors in the business. He's Donald Gleason is Brendan Gleason's son. Brendan Gleeson, who is Hamish in Braveheart. And of course, he's in Paddington. He's in Paddington 2, which he's so great in that. And he's in that movie with Colin Farrell. Why am I freezing on the name of Colin Farrell's movie that Brendan Gleeson is in with him? I'm freezing on it right now. Anyway, I love Brendan Gleeson. That dude's awesome. He's great in everything that he's in. And Donald Gleason, his son. Yeah, it's a charming little film. I dig it. Now, it's not like one of my all-time favorites. I go back to it a lot. I haven't watched it in a couple of years, but I saw it a few times, and yeah, it's a really charming little film. If you like either of these two, or if you want a good date movie, a stay-in date movie because we're all in lockdown, that's actually not a bad one to do. So that's a good recommendation of a friend. All right, COVID Commando writes, may the 4th be with you, and may the 4th be with you, COVID Commando, and your crew. For you and Rob, which Star Wars characters best represents you, or can you best relate to? And make America filthy again. I like the hashtag. Gosh, I don't know. Like, I'm very vanilla and stereotypical when it comes to my favorite Star Wars character. My favorite Star Wars character is Luke Skywalker. I know that sounds like the easy answer, but it's true. Luke Skywalker has always been my favorite character. So that, but I don't think I am most like Luke Skywalker. I don't know. Maybe Wedge. Probably Wedge Antilles is the one probably I most identify with. You know, just hopefully just is there, reliable, gets the job done. You know, nothing very spectacular about him, whatever. Not the big main hero, but just solid, reliable, will get the job done. I have a feeling maybe now, as far as Rob goes, I don't know. I see Rob kind of as a Lando. a little bit. But I don't know. I'd have to think about that a little bit. For me, I'll go Wedge Antilles. That's the one I'll go on. Thanks for the question, man. All right, Jose Mias writes, new Star Wars movie from Taika Waititi confirmed. Yeah, we talked about that on the John Campea Show earlier today. Very excited about that because not only do you have now a guy who knows how to do low budget and like stuff like What We Do in the Shadows, who knows how to do big sci-fi, pop cultural, iconic movies like Thor Ragnarok. He's also an Academy Award winner for Jojo Rabbit. He directed a picture nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. And he knows how to incorporate all of those elements, including his comedy, into Star Wars because we saw him do it in Mandalorian. It's perfect. It's a no-brainer. You know, we talked about that back in July when there were first rumors about it. It's a no-brainer. If you can get him to do it, it's no-brainer. And what makes that news even better is, yes, he's writing it, but he's co-writing it with the screenwriter who just wrote 1917, another Oscar-nominated writer. So you got two Oscar-nominated writers, one Oscar winner, a guy who directed a Best Picture nominee, a guy who did a big blockbuster, beloved pop cultural flick in like Thor Ragnarok, a guy who did one of the most beloved kind of cult comedies out there right now in What We Do in the Shadows. And by the way, the TV show is really good too. It's a dream. It's an absolute dream. It's the best news we could have got on May the 4th. It is absolutely the best news we could have gotten on the May the 4th. And as I joked about on the John Campea Show earlier, it's now just a ticking clock until we find out that Kathleen Kennedy lets him go because they have creative differences, because that seems to happen with every other project that they have. But if they could actually follow through, it's amazing news, man. It's amazing news. All right. Simon Blakemore writes, hi, John and Rob. Happy May the 4th. I hope it works out with Taika Waititi with a Star Wars because we all know Kathleen Kennedy's track record. Yeah, and listen, I'm not trying to bash on Kathleen Kennedy. Everybody knows I'm a big Kathleen Kennedy fan. I am, but I have my criticisms for how she has handled the top job at Lucasfilm. I still think she's one of the greatest producers of all time. Steven Spielberg says she is. That's good enough for me. But it's been rough. It has really been rough with how she has dropped the ball at, you know, the executive part of the job. And I think she needs to go back to being a great producer and let somebody else run Lucasfilm. That being said, I don't mean for this to be a pile on Kathleen Kennedy. I really don't. But the fact of the matter is she doesn't have a good track record at all. She has a very, very low success rate with hiring showrunners or directors, and the amount of turnover she has. It's incredibly low. As in low percentage of success. It's incredibly low. She's had to change directors and showrunners far more than the average studio does. And because that's the case, I'm going to be holding my breath a little bit. Like, oh, is Taika actually going to make it and actually direct this film? I'm going to be holding my breath a little bit. I'm not going to get too excited about it until they actually start shooting. So then I might get a little bit excited about it. All right, Jesse writes, hold up. Could we possibly get a Best Picture nominated Star Wars movie? Well, don't forget, we already have had one. It was called Star Wars. Anyway, 2 Academy level writers and a director with a Best Picture nomination. Yeah, I know it almost seems too good to be true. It's a pinch me kind of scenario. It's staggering now. I don't expect it anytime soon. I mean, he's still got Thor: Love and Thunder that he's got. He's got his, I believe his next film that he's doing, his next goal wins that he's doing with Michael Fassbender. And then he's got Thor Ragnarok he's got to do. And then he'll get around to doing, so this could still be years away, like multiple years away. But still, it's exciting news. But don't forget, the original Star Wars was nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. All right, next up is Kirt, who writes, breaking news, Taika Waititi has left his Star Wars project citing creative differences with Kathleen Kennedy. Listen, don't even joke, man. We know that is going to be the thing that we're all going to be holding our breath over for the next while. Please don't even joke. My heart's not going to be able to take it. I just hope they can get across the finish line in this one. All right, an anonymous viewer writes in, hi, John and Rob. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much, Anonymous. So how are you feeling on this season of Flash so far? Sad to hear episode 19 will be the end due to the pandemic. I will say I'm getting season 1 and 2 vibes this time around. Somebody just asked me the other day how I was feeling about this season of The Flash as well. I'm liking it. It's not amongst my top 2 or maybe even 3 favorite seasons of Flash so far, but I'm enjoying it. I'm still not loving. Now, I think I'm 1 episode behind right now. I think I'm 1 episode behind. I'm still not loving the Mirror Universe Iris thing that they've been doing. I'm not really big on it. Now, I'm going to give it a pass right now to see what the payoff for it is. Not really digging right now. It seems a little just weird to me. But overall, I feel like Flash, especially coming off that DeVoe season, which it was the one season of Flash I really didn't like, was that DeVoe season. But I feel like they found their personality again. You know what I mean? I feel like the show has found its first personality again, which is really key and really important. It's something that Arrow never did, because I feel like Arrow, once you got into the last half of season 3 and onward, Arrow lost its identity. And I feel like even though they still had some up points for the rest of the show, I feel like they never truly found their identity again. And with Flash, when the DeVoe season was going on, I was feeling like the same thing was happening, but I feel like with this season, they've really found their identity again and found their voice again. And yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm digging it so far. All right, let's see here. Muad'Dib writes, top 10 non-franchise movies. Somebody else sent in a list similar to that earlier. Number 1, Inception. Number 2, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Number 3, Serenity. I love Serenity so much. Number 4, Interstellar. Number 5, Gladiator. Number 6, Finding Nemo. Number 7, Arrival, speaking of Denis Villeneuve. Number 8, Master and Commander with Russell Crowe. Number 9, Braveheart. Number 10, Heat. And little looks like honorable mention for Ferris Bueller Day Off and The Princess Bride are all mentions. I adore. I like Interstellar. I like that movie. I wouldn't say I adore, but I like basically adore every other film you've got on there, dude. That is a great, fantastic list. Well put together, Muad'Dib. All right. Cameron McDowell writes, have you watched Prop Culture on Disney Plus? No, I have not. I mean, Disney Plus right now has a bunch of these little weird shows like BR Chef, Shop Class, like these really super low budget kind of TLC shows, except TLC and the Home Network do them a lot better. So I watch BR Chef and I watch Shop Class. Neither of them really are for me. They're cute little ideas. Don't get me wrong. They're cute little ideas. And I love the fact that you got Justin Long hosting one. You got Angela from The Office hosting the other. And that's cool. This sounds, I've never even heard of this one, Cameron, but it sounds kind of like it's the same thing. But I don't know. Listen, every once in a while I'll pop on Disney Plus and just see what's on there. Maybe I'll stumble across that one sometime. All right. Chris Copier sends in a $50 super chat. Dude, thanks so much for supporting the channel on that level, man. And if there is a question in here, it will also be answered in its own standalone video sometime in the next couple of weeks. Keep your eyes open for it. All right, Chris writes, watching since the AMC days. Thank you so much, Chris. Big Star Wars fan. Plus, today is my birthday. Another birthday today. Happy birthday to you, man. I hope you had a great one, dude. All right. I used to weigh 600 pounds. 360 pounds lost in 4 years. Dude, that's insane. Well done. In 4 years today, finally got to cosplay as Luke Skywalker. Dude, there are just some people writing stories that put smiles on my face, and that's just one of them. Well done, man. That is awesome. Good for you. That takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of discipline to do that, man. And so well done. Good for you. Let's see. Question. You get to change one event in Star Wars, and it becomes a limited What If Disney Plus series. Go. Oh. Okay, so no real repercussions of changing this one thing, because it's going to be a What If limited series. So making this change doesn't affect canon, and it doesn't affect everything else that came in Star Wars. Interesting. Interesting. I know one that I've always thought. I believe it's R5. That one, the droid that Luke calls Red. It's the droid that after picking that Uncle Owen, after picking 3PO, turns and picks the droid next. The astromech droid sitting next to R2. I believe the name of that droid was R5. I could be wrong about that. I think it was R5. Anyway, Luke just refers to him as Red. And they picked those two, and R2-D2 was not picked. And so C-3PO starts to walk and follow Luke, and he looks back at R2. The friends are being separated. R5, but there's nothing he can do. Starts following him. And then the motivator blows. And R5, and the sparks fly. This one's got a bad motivator, or whatever it is he said he had. And it's like, all right, then I'll take the blue one. What happens if that bad motivator didn't blow in red? What happens then? R2 gets back on the Sandcrawler, has to go off in different... Does the Empire win? Like, seriously, did the fate of the universe come down to that droid had a sizzle and had a short circuit in his head? Does that what the universe came down to? Was that moment of fate? What happens if R2 had to get back on that sandcrawler? That's the one that I would do, Chris. That is the one that I would do. Darth Jar Jar is something a lot of people have joked about over the years, but I'm telling you that one insane moment of fate in the history of Star Wars, if that fluke didn't happen, what happens to the universe? That would be an interesting what if Disney series. So that's the one I think I would pick. Chris, again, thanks for supporting the channel on that level, man. We appreciate it around here. And thanks for sending your question, man. All right. Dan Higg writes, Taika Waititi, new Star Wars film director. Yep, we talked about that earlier on the show. Best news we could have possibly gotten on May the 4th, man. Absolutely the best news we absolutely could have possibly gotten. Cameron McDowell writes, Deadline reported that Ralph Fiennes is playing Miss, I always forget how to pronounce this from Matilda, Trunchbull for Netflix's Matilda. What do you think of this? Yes. Now, of course, the 1996 movie, Matilda, it's a strange little movie, Danny DeVito, and it's a strange little movie. I mean, it starts off about this really smart little girl who's really into books that has a terrible, terrible family, and then it turns into like a superpower kind of show. But at any rate, it's a cute, charming little film. It's a weird film. There's been a stage musical of this forever. And actually, in the stage musical, a dude has been playing the role of Trunchbull, of Miss Trunchbull, if I'm even pronouncing the name right. But a dude has been playing that role, even though it's a female role. You know, a former Olympian, shot putter, former Olympian, and javelin, I think, one of the two. Anyway. So it's been played by a dude. So they've decided to carry that tradition over now into this new film version of it. They did the same thing actually in Hairspray when John Travolta played that one role. And they've got who I consider to be the greatest actor in the world who does not have an Oscar on his shelf. And that's Ralph Fiennes. I believe he is the greatest actor in the world that doesn't have an Academy Award. And it's interesting. I mean, not one that I would have predicted, not at all, but it's an interesting turn of events. Let's see if he can turn it into something. All right, next up, an anonymous viewer writes, one of four. After rewatching The Rise of Skywalker, I noticed something that sent me into a crazy conspiracy theorist mode. Throughout the trilogy, the First Order became essentially the new Empire, or as close as you can be. They destroyed the New Republic and are seemingly in control of the galaxy. However, in The Rise of Skywalker, outside of Ren, Hux, and General Pride, the First Order as a whole suffers little to no casualties in their armies. I know where you're going with this because me and my friend had a conversation about this too. In their entirety, their armada exists in their entirety. The entire final battle was with the new Empire ships and Sith troopers, which they only found out about a few days ago in the film. Essentially, the First Order only loses the leader, which has already happened before with Snoke, and they recovered. By extension, the First Order, by extension, are still a galactic power in control of the entire galaxy. So my theory is, could this lend itself to an heir to the Empire type follow-up with the next in command taking over rule of the still extremely powerful First Order? I don't think you're going to see them go there. Now, so basically, this is a discussion we had, me and a couple of friends had as well. It's like, okay, again, but the big final battle, they only destroyed this new Star Destroyer fleet. The entire First Order is still out there. Like the First Order that took over the galaxy, they're still out there. Completely intact, other than a couple of key leaders. But the First Order is still there. I mean, yeah, you took out this new threat that they magically come back to life because Emperor kind of built in his spare time, and every single Star Destroyer had a Death Star cannon on it. Don't even get me started. Anyway, the fact of the matter is the entire First Order is there. So, well, I thought what real fun ending of The Rise of Skywalker is they're all celebrating back on the base. Yay! And then the full First Order shows up and blasts them all to crap. It's like, oh, hey, thank you for all flying back to your base. Now we know where you live, and we still have our entire fleet. You're dead. I mean, that is something they didn't really address at all. They didn't address it at all. I mean, yeah, they got rid of the new problem that they just found out about with the Emperor, but you still have the main problem, which is the First Order. Look, I don't think at all it is any kind of a setup for a next movie. I think they are moving away from this. I think they are now going to go back into Old Republic times or High Republic eras and different eras and things like that. And maybe they'll move forward, but I don't think they're going to address it. I honestly think they're just going to let that go. I think they're just going to say that the defeat of that Star Destroyer fleet also represented the defeat of the First Order. I think that's what they're going to do, and that's what they're going to say. No, I don't think... Well, what you're saying is completely plausible because I agree. I've had that discussion myself, but I don't think that's what they're going to do. I think they're just going to infer that the defeat on Exegol is going to represent the defeat of the First Order, period. And we're going to be heading into the new Republic. There was the Republic. There was the New Republic. Get ready, folks, for the new Republic. So that's going to be coming up here soon. All right, good observation, though, Anonymous. All right, next up, James L.H. writes, "Hey, John, I've been jealous in hearing you talk about the Harley Quinn show. Finally, it's received the UK premiere on the 7th of May. That's one of the problems with DC's show is its international release takes ages. Look forward to finally we will be in the conversation." Dude, I love this show so much. And it is one, you know, it often ends up, the shows I ended up loving the most are the ones that I initially think look like crap. I had no desire to watch Harley Quinn. I do not like DC's animated stuff. I do not like Marvel's animated stuff. There are exceptions. There's a couple of DC animated things and a couple of Marvel animated things that I do quite like. But for the most part, I find all their animated stuff to be rubbish. And I had no desire to check out Harley Quinn. And I saw the trailer, did not appeal to me. I had a couple of people desperately insist to me I was going to like it. So I'm like, fine. Ann and I sat down to watch the first episode. Loved it. You've heard me tell the story. But I'm really, really excited that you guys get to get caught up on this now. Season 2 has been every bit as good, if not even better than Season 1. I hope you guys are able to get caught up really, really fast, James. And I'm very, very happy for you that you get to start watching it. All right, Lord Vanderkill writes, do you think the Batman will have a scene that can top or match the BVS warehouse scene? That was Arkham level fighting. Dude, I loved that scene. Now, Batman and Superman actually having their fight is my favorite sequence in the movie. I thought they did that wonderful. Like, how do you have the Batman fighting the Superman? How do you do it? Listen, say whatever you want about Zack Snyder. That dude knows how to visually tell a story. He is a visual guy. And I'm telling you what, he nailed, in my opinion. Yes, the film has its problems, but he nailed the Batman-Superman fight. It felt visceral. It felt gritty. It felt like lives were on the line. It was great to me. I loved it. And I even think Martha, why did you say the name? I think that's misunderstood. And I made a whole video about why I thought the Martha scene was misunderstood. But that aside, I thought he did a great job. But only second to that, by a close bit, is that warehouse fight scene. That was Batman Unleashed. That was awesome Batman. That was Dark Knight Returns kind of Batman. Like, we've never seen, up until the Dark Knight Returns, when that graphic novel came out, you had never seen a Batman that violent. Like, the violence Batman visits upon his prey in The Dark Knight was unheard of up until that point in a Batman story. And that warehouse scene, I wouldn't call it Arkham. I call that Dark Knight Returns level Batman. I loved it. I thought it was great. And hey, listen, I hope Matt Reeves understands that when we go into a Batman movie, hey, it's great that you're going to analyze the detective side of Batman. Absolutely. That's great. But you also have to give us the warrior Batman. You have to give us that Batman as well. The one that criminals tremble in fear over. You've got to give us that. And so, hey, listen, don't put anything past Matt Reeves, man. He can pull it off. I just hope he plans on pulling it off. But if he's planning on it, I think he'll succeed. I really do. All right, last one, guys. This one comes to us from Nosferatu, who writes, I understand it won't be for a long time, but I am anxious to see how Marvel handles Doctor Doom. I am curious, too. Now, a long time ago, going back a couple years now, so it really wasn't that long ago, but Kevin Feige had a discussion, because remember, Fox was planning on doing a Doctor Doom standalone movie. And Noah, I'm forgetting his full name. It was Noah something or other. The guy who was the showrunner for Legion. Fox tapped him to develop a Doctor Doom movie project. So after it was announced that Disney was taking over Fox, Noah tells a story that he actually had a conversation with Kevin Feige, and Kevin Feige said, "Hey, so did you write out that Doctor Doom script?" Now then Noah says nothing else ever came out of it other than that, because he told him, "Yeah, I was developing. I got a story here for you." Noah says nothing ever came out of it. So I have no idea what they're planning. I don't know if they're going to introduce Doctor Doom with the Fantastic Four. I don't know if they're going to save Doctor Doom for 1 or 2 pictures and then bring him in. I don't know, but I'm with you, man. I am very, very curious to see what they do and what they decide to do with a Doctor Doom character. Absolutely, I am. And I know I said that was the last one, but I just realized I missed a couple right at the beginning. There was a chunk of them that I missed right at the beginning here. So let me get to these quick here. They're all from Vicarious, who writes in, 1 of 4, the official John Campea Show drinking game rules. Take 1 shot when John mentions the original, the following. Netflix is terrible at marketing its own content. Man of Steel is the most underrated comic book movie of all time. Blank movie is a good little movie or a fun little movie. Reminds community to follow the source. Blank person is a good Canadian kid. When John tells a viewer, good on you, sir, not go on you, good on you is what I say. 3 or 4, when Daniel Day-Lewis or Steven Spielberg is mentioned as the greatest of all time. When he states he doesn't like Clone Wars, take 2 shots if this pains you to hear. And 4 or 4, when he mentions Ahsoka as a stupid character, take 2 shots if this pains you to hear. When John mentions the unholy trinity, you guessed it, take 3 shots. Of course, that's Highlander 2. That is Battlefield Earth, and that is Halle Berry's Catwoman. You guys to take 3 shots. May the 4th be with you, everyone, and have a great day. And guys, may you all have a great day, and may you not get too terribly intoxicated just from these rules, just from this video alone. All right, guys, that will do it for this installment of the companion videos. We're now all caught up. Don't forget, guys, the John Campea Show returns again tomorrow with me and Robert Meyer Burnett. Make sure you guys come on in and join us for that. Guys, a special thank you to all of you who sent in questions, not just because you gave us great fun things to talk about, but also because by sending in those questions and tipping and using Super Chat, you supported the channel while you were doing it. And all of us here at the John Campea YouTube Show, thank you guys very, very much for that. All right, guys, that will do it for me for now. Thanks for being here. My name is John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.